Welcome to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Hey, that's me. Hi, and welcome to Positive Talk. Our show features the best positive stories and people from around the globe as we endeavor to answer the universal question of why am I here and what is my purpose? Understanding that can change everything, and knowing your greatness is fundamental to living your best life. So join us right now as together we work to create the adventure of our lifetime. And welcome to the show, everybody. Oh, look at that. There she is. It's the missing one, and she is back. So, and Brichelle, it's great to see you again, my dear. And have you ever thought about, if you want to reach your goals, but it seems overwhelming and seems like it's so tough and you can't do it? Well, the guest we have on today that you get to pronounce her name, and if you'd like to welcome her, that would be just awesome.
Yes, we have Dr. Christiane Schroeter, if I'm correct in that, and she works with women, people, just really for business and wellness coaching, empowering across diverse industries. You can visit her website at drchristiane.com. But how are you? And thank you for being here.
Oh, I'm so thrilled to be here. You did an amazing job with my name. I mean, I really have to tell you, that was not an easy one. So, and that's why my website is just Dr. Christiane. It's that last name is like, oh, it's definitely a challenge piece. But Dr. Christiane, that's it. Perfect.
Perfect. And we are glad that you are here because you're also an author and you've got 3 books out and stuff. So we're going to talk about all of that today. Is that okay? I
would love that.
Good, because we got nothing to talk about other than you. That's all we got to talk about. And because you've done a lot of work. Tell us your backstory a little bit of all the work that you've done and where you are today.
Yeah. So I grew up in Germany. You might hear that from the accent. If the name
Guten
didn't give that away.
Sprechen Sie Deutsch?
Oh, yeah. And actually, I raised my 2 children bilingual. They're going to a Spanish school as well. So they're getting that from school, the Spanish. But I raised them with my German language. You can tell they have a lot of books behind me, and a lot of the books are actually in German so that they get the written word in addition to me teaching them in German in the conversation.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, it's so important. I mean, like speaking about positive, you have to really think about your culture and your roots as something you want to pass on to your next legacy, right? So my children really picking up on that, and they get the culture, and it's just amazing. So now I live in the United States. Actually, live in beautiful California, where I'm a professor at the university here. I teach marketing, innovation, entrepreneurship. And I see that next generation of entrepreneurs going into the workforce with their amazing ideas and hopefully coming up with an idea that is somewhat maybe their goal and what they always wanted to do. So that my last book is called Discover Your Superpower. And I'm really helping students, entrepreneurs in my private coaching practice to tap into that superpower and share their amazingness with the world.
And when you say superpower, are we talking about a common superpower that we all have, or is it an individual thing that each of us has our own?
I love that. And hey, Kitty, Kat is there too.
She really likes you, so she's here.
I have to tell you, deep down, I think of myself maybe like a squirrel or a cat. I definitely have some squirrel characteristics. So our superpowers are very unique to ourselves. In entrepreneurship, we call this unique value proposition. What's the value that you're uniquely proposing to the world? And that is something we are sometimes more or less aware of, but it's essential that you're tapping into this, because once you tap into this, you can really share with others something that comes very easy to you and might be hard for others. And then you can help others by sharing that unique value proposition, elevate their life, empower them. And I think the more we are aligned and in tune with our superpower, the more we really share our goodness with the world. And it makes us live in a more positive place, right?
Oh, absolutely. And I think personally that is the highest form of service, is when you are in service to another human being.
Yeah, and I always say, if you don't tap into your superpower, you're stealing from the world, because you're not sharing what you're amazing at. And that makes us all basically, we live without ever knowing how unique and amazing you are. So you're stealing that from us. So don't withhold, tap into that superpower and start sharing it.
So, Rochelle, what is your superpower?
That is a really hard question, Kevin. I think one thing that I used to see as not so much of a good thing that I now think of as a superpower is having empathy for others, because I can create a safe space for myself to not get too latched and thinking I need to fix and help somebody in all the ways possible, but also to be able to share with them my experiences and my understanding and let them know that I understand where they're at. So it's nice to be heard sometimes.
It is indeed. It is indeed. So, is that a superpower, Dr. Christina?
Yeah,
Does that
I
count?
think empathy goes a long ways. And it also makes sense where you work. So ideally, you want your superpower kind of directing a little bit the way of where your dreams are, right? So you want to feel like your superpowers are getting sharpened with your skills and where you are right now. And I think empathy is so important in a conversation communication setting. So it sounds like, Michelle, you're like in the right spot here.
Good. Because if I'm not on that side, it's the other side of me that's just no excuses, full motivation, don't be afraid of anything. So I think it's good to have a little bit of both.
Love that. Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. But she's here because she adds so much to the show, but she's also here to learn, and learning like a sponge. As a matter of fact, one of the guests we had on earlier today said, you should be a counselor. And because some of the things that come out of her face are just amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah, that was probably the highest compliment I've ever received. So it was very meaningful.
Well, and now I'm telling you that's your superpower. So this is your day of compliments.
Well, thank you.
So
I've really worked hard for it.
She has, and so, Doctor, I got to ask you, because you deal with the youth of America. Tell me that we are leaving, that they're growing up, and we are leaving them a world that they can fix, because we sure haven't.
Yeah, so I think whenever you look at college students and you think, what are they doing, where this generation is going to go, you always have to be aware, of course, that they are also watching us as role models, right? The teachers, the educators, the parents, the neighbors, all these amazing people around them. And I think what we all need, and that's why I love the name of the show so much, is positive talk. Giving each other compliments goes a long ways in tapping into your superpower, because deep down, sometimes you just don't hear enough of this. But then when you think back, is what do people really compliment me on? What is it really that it seems that people ask me to help them with? And in my classroom, I always say that you need to think a little bit about the team you're building. Those will be your future colleagues. The community that you have here at the university that seems like oh so easy will be eventually, much more diverse than what it is here. So I look at the college students as being very aware that they need to build that community, and then in the future use them as their network, their bouncing board when they are actually in the workforce. So I have high hopes, Kevin.
Me too.
Oh, I am so glad, because we need them to be, we need them to have superpowers and to be really strong, and because they're going to need to be.
Yep.
Yeah, I always say the future leaders of tomorrow.
Indeed. And you may be even, who knows, you may be even having a future president of the United States in your classroom.
Completely.
Yeah.
And what is so empowering about educating is, of course, it kind of plugs you in with the trends that they are experiencing. So it keeps you young because you're always learning and then passing on that knowledge to somebody else. You're like never stopping the learning and the teaching and the growing. And I think that students pick up on that, just like what Michelle just said right now. If you're really passionate about empathy, you should be in that role. And I'm really passionate about learning. So I share with my students, oh, I read this book and I'm writing this book and I'm on this amazing podcast today. Of course, I share that with them because I want that they understand in order for you to make your voice heard, in order for you to become that future leader, you have to become visible. You can't just be like in your dorm room mumbling into your pillow. You have to actually create change in your little corner of the world. If you're not happy with something, you have to voice that and you have to become vocal about it. And I tell them that. And I think that it's so important that we hear that from others to actually create change in our little corner of the world. And that will then become waves and become more meaningful in the larger scale.
I have to ask you, since you are dealing with 18, 19, 20, 21-year-olds and stuff, have you learned their language yet?
There are definitely words that I don't use or I have to ask. Actually, Kevin, you're bringing up an amazing point. For me, as an educator, I think the reason why I won awards and why my podcast is ranked highly and my books are selling well is because I'm actually showing my vulnerability. I frequently say, when they say something that I don't understand, I frequently say, I'm not familiar with that. Can you explain that to me? Because even though I have a PhD, I don't want to be the know-it-all. I don't want to be the person that feels they have the answer to all questions. Sometimes I honestly say, like, I don't know. Or I encourage them. It's like, why don't you look that up? Because I don't know the answer to this. And then let's come back and we can discuss what we came up with. So do I always know the language? Do I always know the words? For sure not. And it changes too, right? It makes you, again, plug into those trends that are going on. But I think in terms of being a leader and being somebody that they seek out to, you also have to be humble and you have to say, like, I don't talk like that. It's not really necessarily that familiar to me. So why don't you explain me? What does it mean? And maybe come from a different angle. Help me understand. Show me, what does it mean? So I show interest in their lives.
I had a gentleman tell me not too long ago that he said, you know, you're dope. And I thought, you mean I am a dope? Or what because it used to be, if you were called a dope in the 70s and 80s, that means you were stupid. And now it's a completely reversed and opposite, it seems.
Yep. It's sometimes the fashion pendulum swings this way or that way, and that might be one word that maybe went from like that way to this way, right? It's coming back and it's totally turning a 180 on all of a sudden being amazing and something positive to where it really wasn't like that before. I think that happens. And
I think you're right.
you know, I think that's just part of life, that you kind of plug in and you tune in and you figure out really what the pulse is, and staying connected to that generation really shows you where the pulse is. So I love that you just brought that up, Kevin.
Well, and I'll tell you, I'm excited for when bell bottoms come back.
Yes,
They have.
You're kidding.
They're kind of back. I know you don't have TikTok, Kevin, and I even have to be careful because I like it. It can be good if you filter yourself on what you're seeing, but oh yeah, bell bottoms are back in the big sole shoes. Oh, those are totally a thing,
platforms.
especially with the younger people. Yeah. So there's a lot of things that even from when my mom was a child that now I can wear her clothes and it's cool. And I'm like, I used to get bullied for wearing those plaid shorts and now they're a thing. But I know we need to take a break, and I have to ask you, Dr. Christiane, when we come back, kind of the question Kevin asked you, but in reverse.
Oh, she's so good. We'll be right back.
At 67 years young, I never thought I'd feel this good again. But thanks to Purium's Ultimate Transformation Lifestyle, to date, I've lost 37 pounds and gained energy, confidence, and a whole new outlook on life. This isn't a diet. Purium is a complete lifestyle change, giving me all the natural, organic, nutrition-packed superfoods that fuel my body, crush my cravings, and help me burn fat naturally without starving myself. No gimmicks, no guesswork, just a simple, proven system that works. Superfood shakes, detox support, and real results. If I can do this at 67, imagine what you can do. It's your time to feel better, look better, and live better with Purium. Let's do it now, and let's do it together. Go to www.positivetalkradio.net and click on the Transform You to get started. That's positivetalkradio.net. Transform You.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald and Rochelle. The dancing one is over there.
I thought the music would come on, but it's okay. I don't need music to dance.
You didn't hear the music?
No. It's okay.
Okay. And anyway, we're talking. Who are we talking with, Rochelle?
Dr. Christiane Schroeter. And I had the question for you that brought my mind. So Kevin had asked what it was like for you to kind of learn their language. I know for me it's been kind of weird because I'm in the middle, in middle or the end of your 20s, you're kind of learning the new language, and then your language is kind of going out, and it's weird to kind of go through. So I know how that is, but I thought about the flip side of it and what it would be like, or how it is for them to learn your language. Is there some of them that you hear that now they talk differently than maybe they did before when you have conversations with them?
Oh, yeah, sure. I mean, like some of especially because I teach marketing, innovation, entrepreneurship, some of the terms go into their language and they start using them like it's just normal to talk about unique value proposition. When they went into the classroom, definitely did not know that. Or a niche. Oh, yeah, like this is going to be my niche in my business, and I'm setting myself up for a launch. And all of a sudden, these terms that were like maybe 3 months ago was something that was out of a textbook become more normal because I use it so frequently. And this is the biggest thing, Rochelle. When we work through the book, and it has word searches in there, and it has games in there, and it has also activities in there where, for instance, I ask them, go to a grocery store and look what's on the shelf. And I call it a shelfie. Take pictures in the grocery store with you and show me a little bit of what you discovered. What's new out there? What are the trends right now? And they say after they take my classes, they will never go to a grocery store with the same set of, blinders on, because all of a sudden they realize, oh my gosh, there's all these things. Just like language changes, trends change so quickly. And I think that it's beautiful when you kind of realize you could be part of this. You could be part of changing products that come to a grocery store. You could be part of products that are maybe sold online and help others, which is why I think it's so important to tap into superpowers, because you could create something that helps the next generation become healthier, happier, more confident, all these things that you might have struggled with.
Yeah, exactly.
We're all struggling with something or another, and it's always good to be in the room with somebody who has got a clue and can help them, because they told me years ago, this Positive Talk radio show, you need to niche down. It needs to be, you really need to niche down. And I discovered that, what my niche is?
Everything.
Being positive.
Goodness.
Yeah.
And so that's all I do. And I'm real happy about it. Tell us about, how long have you been doing your podcast?
I've been doing it since the 23rd of March, 2023. So 3/23/2023. So I just celebrated my 2-year anniversary. And on that 2-year anniversary, I launched my 3rd book, So I'm a firm believer in numbers and positive associations with it. So Happy Healthy Hustle is the name of my podcast, because we want to keep going and hustling, but we also want to be happy and we want to be healthy along the way. And I was actually just today notified that I've been nominated for the Women's Podcaster Award in Education. Yeah. So my podcast is ranked top 1% in the world, and hopefully going to be an award winner in the education category in the Women's Podcasting Award. So I'm really thrilled, and I keep hustling along while I'm staying happy and healthy.
Yes.
Well, congratulations for that. That's really is a cool award to win. And so how many shows do you do a week or a month?
I do 2 shows per month, and that works well for me. And they are always under 30 minutes. I alternate between a solo episode and having an amazing guest on the show. And I always share their superpower. So sometimes my guests think this is such a hard thing to think about, and then they start talking about it, and I have very pointed questions that guide them through it. How they tapped into that superpower has really transformed their life. And so being on my show actually helps you discover your superpower, but also listening to my show helps you understand if that person has that superpower, that sounds like something I'm really good at. So it's like really the dual idea of you could listen to it, you can really tune in and have it transform your life. But my book, Discover Your Superpower, also has podcast episodes in there and worksheets that can help you discover your superpower based on these podcast episodes.
So what are some of the questions that you ask? And I don't know if Rochelle feels like playing the role of guinea pig, or
Sure.
I can. I fit a much better.
I'm open.
So go ahead and ask Rochelle some of the questions that you might ask.
Yeah, so the first one is always, what is your superpower? And Kevin already stole that thunder. You asked her earlier. You said empathy right there. Okay. So Rochelle, what has been your biggest struggle in your life, if you think back, of something you really, really felt like it was a really challenging time in your life? And how did you overcome that?
I think a lot of it was reactivity. I was
Good.
very quick and very easy to react to everything, no matter what it threw in front of me. And it caused me to I lived in fight or flight, which was the worst possible outcome. So if something good happened, it kind of threw me off, or I wasn't able to accept it. And now I'm able to look back at that and think, okay, well, I was only trying to protect myself. And now that I know I can do that in healthy ways, I don't need to feel that. I can give her grace. And if I still feel it come up sometimes, I just have those reminders of, hey, we're not where we were then, and you don't need to feel this. Don't throw yourself back into a pattern that feels easy just because you know what's better on the other side.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I hear that a lot with my clients when I coach in my business coaching, this fight or flight mode and the overwhelm that goes along with it, right? So what got you out of that fight or flight mode thinking? Because in reality, in our brain, you think about the different parts in your brain firing up. With the fight or flight mode, you're really only firing up, that one part of your brain, like the area that is that stress response. And you really always want to use all parts in your brain and making a more conscious and more well-rounded decision, and maybe more positive decision instead of just reacting to it. So what happened? What got you out of that?
I think it was being able to set my emotion aside from my thoughts, because my emotion would drive my thoughts, or I would think I'm being too emotional, I need to be logical. I wasn't listening to myself. I was just trying to do what I thought would be best based off the situation, but I had no awareness of what I was going through or how I was feeling. So when I was able to grasp that, it changed everything.
Yeah, sometimes removing yourself from the situation really helps. And I think that the emotion is great because you're empathetic, but at the same time, you want to also take emotion out of decisions, because we sometimes think that decision was made because of us. When in reality, it's like completely, it's not you. It's just there was a
Yeah.
decision made, and it's nobody is like thinking about you when they made it. There was probably a lot of decisions that evolved around something completely different, finances,
Yeah.
other people, who knows what. And it's not like a
Yeah.
personal decision. Love it. Kevin, do you have
And
any?
it brought a lot of shame as well.
For sure.
So that was hard to work through. Yeah, Kevin, do you have any? What's your superpower?
I don't know.
I think Kevin's heart alongside his mouth is his superpower.
And sometimes my heart gets in my throat too. So- no, if I had a superpower, it's that I've learned through the years and a long time ago that just to trust the universe and to trust in myself, and to know that the messages that I get are the things that I should be doing or could be doing if I chose to, and to say yes to life. And I've learned that over time.
Yeah, I love that. That we become more accepting of things that we cannot control.
Well, the reality is I'm 67 years old and I can barely control when I have to go to the bathroom. But so it's when you are knee deep in trying to control everything and control your environment,
Driving yourself crazy. Yeah.
and not only do you drive yourself crazy, but it's not a successful strategy, because you will never be in your own timeline or whatever your thoughts are. You'll never be able to accomplish that outside of the continuum of what it's all about. And so just relax. And Rochelle, I'm going to say it. What am I going to say?
Let it be.
It's just, and that's, there's a story behind that I got to tell you, because when Rochelle first came to work with me, she had moments of anxiety and moments of stress and moments of what if I'm not good enough and moments like that. And I said, the gospel according to Paul McCartney, just let it be. Mm-hmm. And she now has taken that as a badge of honor for her to just, so when she's feeling stressed, when I'm feeling stressed, or something unforeseen happens, like my mom passing away suddenly, and my brother passing away at a very young age, at least younger than me now. And but you just have to let it be. There's nothing that you can do to change any of it. But if you let it be, and then know that everything is going to work out for you in your favor over time, that can be a very empowering thought.
Yeah. And I have to top that off, even, doctor, because what that taught me was to be still, was to be present with myself, not grounded to myself and like 10 other things. It made me actually come back to myself. And I love how kids probably feel that when they're in your classroom, when they come and they're around you, they feel like they're able to be present enough to be able to let it all be. They're finding things, they're discovering, they're learning, and they're getting really, really curious. I think that happens a lot through, it makes no sense to me because it sounds like it's two opposites colliding, but sometimes I think when kids go through learning and go through school and get taught by other people, it shuts down their curiosity and kind of makes them question their limits and who they are and what they can do, what they want to be. And they either see life as like this big broad view, or they're just like, oh, okay, well, you do the 9 to 5 and you do this, maybe I'll be a teacher and all those things. And since you teach about business, that's the whole side of things you're opening up again, is look what really is out there, not look what you've only allowed yourself to see. So I know we have to take this break, and I'm going to let Kevin take us out. But when we come back, I would love just your thoughts on what I just said.
Beautiful. Thank you.
And by the way, you're listening to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald and Rochelle. And our guest today is Dr.
Christiana!
Schroeter. What?
And we shall return after our station break. Stay right there with us. It's just a minute, 10 seconds. So we'll be right back.
You're listening to Brushwood Media Network, the best in syndicated talk, news, and entertainment shows.
As you go about your daily life, look closer. As you gather with family and friends who love and support you, look closer. There are youth right in your community who don't have the home, warmth, and healing you have. So look closer. Every year across America, a staggering 4.2 million youth are homeless or trafficked. And for 50 years, Covenant House has worked relentlessly to keep them safe and protected. Tonight, 2,000 young people will sleep safely in a Covenant House bed. And tomorrow, they will wake up surrounded by love. They get clean clothes, hot meals, medical care, and a safe place to sleep. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. In sites across America to help them fulfill the great promise of their lives. So look closer at Covenant House. To help or get help, go to covenanthouse.org.
Kevin, the music, why can't you hear it? But welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin and myself. And we have Dr. Christiane Schroeter here today. And I'm just going to let you take it straight away and follow up with what I said.
Yeah, I love that you brought up that Kevin's superpower right there. And I actually really appreciate that we talk about, control and reaching our goals and experiencing different things. And quite honestly, that's, I think, one of the unique things about being in the classroom or coaching, or even now talking here, that you sometimes think you need to be everywhere and do it all. When in reality, really, it's just simplifying your life. So I trademarked a system that's called Petite Practice that really focuses on petite, small practice steps. You need to take small steps. And whether that's tapping into your superpower, whether that's starting your business, whether that's maybe cleaning up your room or anything like that, you need to go small steps by steps by steps. And once you focus on just this, whatever, 10 minutes per day, where you may be taking action on this goal, you're actually going to see progress. So if you, for instance, say, all right, so I really want to start a business, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to be here, I'm going to be a coach. And the first thing for you to figure out is, who are your competitors and how you're uniquely different from that? And then people are like, oh my gosh, that's so overwhelming because I have to do this. And I said, no, that's all what I'm asking you. Go to a store or look online and figure out what's already out there. And how is your superpower aligning with your business idea? That's all what I'm asking you. That's like maybe an hour of work. And then when we meet, I would love to hear that and see how I just broke down this big thing into like a small petite practice, an action step. Instead of thinking of the result, I want to create a business, I'm actually saying I want to create a business that is uniquely differentiated from everything that's out there, because it's adding value by bringing my own superpower, my own unique self into this. That's the action goal. And I think that frequently in life, we sit on the sidelines, we don't take action because we are so intimidated by these really big things. And by breaking it down to these small steps, we are actually becoming much more, we feel more empowered. We can do this because this is not that bad. I can sit down for 15 minutes and jot down some notes. I can go to a store. I can talk to my friends. I can maybe ask my family about this. And I'm making this much more feasible, that I'm actually empowering you. You got this. You have this all in you. Let's do this together. Let's take small steps.
Yeah, that's very good.
Why is it that we forget that, as an example, they're in my neck of the woods? Why is it that we forget, like a company like Microsoft that's got thousands of employees and lots of businesses and stuff? But at one time, it was Bill Gates and a couple other guys in a garage. And they didn't. When you look at it from that perspective, It can be, you can do anything. They did. And they were hanging around in the garage, Paul Allen and him and a couple others. And they didn't know, but they believed in themselves and they weren't going to stop and they didn't quit. Is that one of the cornerstones, is to never quit?
I think so. Yeah, I mean, that's why it's called Petite Practice, not Petite Perfection. Constantly practicing.
Oh, that's good.
You're just like small practices here, small practice over here. I mean, think about whether you're an athlete or you're a politician or you're a business person, you're always trying things and you don't quit, because don't think of no as being a boundary. Rather think of it as like next opportunity. NO, next opportunity. You tried this, didn't work. Let's go to the next opportunity. So you're really thinking about those big companies, the Microsofts, the Apples, whether you're in tech or maybe looking at food company, they never quit.
No, they can't. They can't. And it's amazing that that so many of us don't think, we don't think that we can, and so we don't.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things, I wanted to ask you, because in your classes, when you're talking about entrepreneurship and you're talking about business, do you ever talk about the art of cold calling?
The what? Sorry?
The art of cold calling.
Oh, yeah. I do. Mm-hmm.
Because that is one of the biggest stumbling blocks. I was in sales management for a long time. One of the biggest stumbling blocks of a new salesperson is, yeah, but what if they say no? They're gonna shatter my whole day if they say no.
Or even Kevin just taking it a step further back and thinking, I have to talk to this person, and what if I get up to them and I can't talk? What if, because business is so much more than just an online interaction. You sit at home like Bill Gates got to do and build the software. You have to put yourself out there, like you said. So how do you kind of help open up that idea to students who may be a little like, I just want to stay in my shell?
Beautiful. Yeah. So in my coaching, in my business coaching, I basically teach how to give an elevator pitch. And I love, Kevin, that you talked earlier about how language changes, how I see transformation in my clients or in the classroom, because I think that we tend to become more aware about fluff. When we describe something, we get rid of words like, oh, this is just this idea. No. I mean, if you say it like that, nobody's going to get excited, right? You have to actually build a hook. Like, throw the hook out and think a little bit about each word being very intentional. If you have 90 seconds, how would you describe it? You would probably describe a problem, a transformation. You might ask a question at the beginning when you get started. And that hook already then leads to the transformation, to the problem you're solving, and it ends maybe with a call to action. So you have to be much more intentional. Like, nobody has time. So how can I honor that person's time that they're sharing with me? And then all of a sudden, like, the light bulbs go on. Oh, that's true. Yeah, I can actually think about this in a way that it builds it more like an elevator ride, which is really what an elevator pitch is all about. I can really transform it into a very short sequence of sentences that I'm putting together like a little teaser of what there is to come.
Yeah. Well, and I love that. I love being able to do that too, because you're kind of teaching them the flip side of it. If they were their own customer, what would their experience be like? So that's awesome.
And the art of cold calling, when people are scared of being told no. I knew a very successful salesperson, and he said, I get excited when people say no.
Yeah.
He said, you do?
Yeah.
Why would you get excited? And he said, because I'm one step closer to yes. Because the next one may say yes, or the one after that, or the one after that. And so his motto was, you say no, fine, next up. And he never quit that way. And he became a very, very successful salesman.
It's a great way to think about it. And also, what I frequently see is that you feel, and we talked about this earlier, Rochelle, like you personally feel rejected when you hear the no. When in reality, it's actually just filtering out who is your ideal client. Whose problem are you solving? Because you're not solving everybody's problem. I always tell my students, like, we're not solving world hunger. Right now, we are maybe solving one issue that's very local, very regional, very personal to you. And if you may be sharing your personal story, then all of a sudden, when you share that in your elevator pitch, other people are going to be like, I experienced something like that. What did you do to overcome that? Like, how did you get out of that struggle? And then you really have something that people are willing to pay for, and their ears are going to perk up because they want to hear, what was your personal story of transformation?
Yes, being personal. And a lot of times we're taught to keep that away from business. I know when I was younger, I was a sales cars woman, and they told me, don't get personal with these people. I got personal with everybody, and that's why I sold so many cars that didn't make any sense, was because I was able to be on a level of understanding with that person on where they were at and could relate to them in some way, shape, or form. So that is very important. And it also gives your students a voice, because they're not just changing everyone around them, but also internally they're changing themselves, right?
Yeah, and of course, nobody buys a product or a service. People buy stories. So you did the right thing.
Right. Yep.
People might not have bought that. I mean, they could buy any car, right? It
Yeah,
gets you from
they
point
can.
A to point B. But the issue really is, how do you want to get from point A to point B? How do you
Yeah.
want to feel when you drive this car? And you might have talked about the feeling when they get in the car, the features that it has in a way that it associated it with their lives, with the problems that they experienced. Think about this car as being something that makes my life easier, and you connected maybe the dots to what would that be. And I think that's really where the magic of a good salesperson is, that they can, you mentioned the empathy that goes along in understanding what the struggles are of that particular client.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Now, Doctor, I got a question for you, because, you know, in modern times, with the advent of the computer and the social media and Facebook and all of that, there's a segment that doesn't necessarily believe that in the old school of the 90s, which I had an argument with a former associate of mine, that it was like, look, that hasn't changed. It will never change. It's all about relationships. And she said, no, it's not. That's old school. Now you build a website and you put your stuff on the website, and then you invite people to the website, and then they'll buy your stuff. And I said, they won't. They want to talk to a human being about stuff. Am I wrong? Have things changed that much?
So what you're talking about is information orientation versus relationship orientation. I can honestly tell you, if we would all just be information orientation, you could use words like, oh, learn this book by reading the 1,000 pages over here. Nobody's going to get excited about that. They're going to be like, you really want me to learn this right now? That just sounds like we are not doing that. Like watching paint dry. You're like, nope. That would be information orientation. You're like, okay, it's right over here. You can read Marketing 101 and boom, there it is. But then think about, I'm in the classroom and I'm like walking around. I'm like the bubbly one, right? I compared myself to like a girl. When I explain marketing, it's a total different thing because I'm explaining it with examples. I'm sharing podcast episodes. We're doing puzzles. We're doing little personal quizzes. So that's how you learn, because all of a sudden you start relating marketing to your life. It's the application where the magic happens. You have fun. And I think that we all need more fun in our lives. But at the same time, what you really need is to get somebody to go to a website. They first need to figure out why. So what's in it for me? And if they feel it's just information, I'm sorry, people might not necessarily think about that. But if they start trusting you or they believe in you, I love that you brought up the word believe, we really have something going there.
Well, and that's the thing is that people believe in people that they trust.
Mm-hmm.
And and Rochelle, and that's one of the reasons why you succeeded at car sales is because people trusted you because of how you talk to them.
Yeah. Well, and I made it about them because I left my opinion so far out of it because this isn't about me. This is about you. And a lot of times it's like, oh, well, we have this, in this car. I picked it out for them. I already got the keys. I'm like, no, that's not what she described that she wants to look at. Well, that's what's in her price range. Okay, well, let's show her something that is alongside of what she's looking for and in her price range, not on the far end of it. And that's why I couldn't do it, because it was very nitty gritty sometimes. And depending on who you're working with in the dealership and how their numbers are going, they train you to be a certain way. And I was not going to give in to having to be that person and watching people spend way too much money and knowing things were wrong in the deal. But I love that you work with your students in the classroom as well, with each other in a positive way, because a lot of times when we go out into these workplaces, if you want there to be positive, you have to provide it or you won't find it.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, we need to take a break, but Dr. Christiane, right?
Christiane, perfect.
Okay,
I'm positive.
And drchristiane.com is her website, and she's got 3 books out, and they're all fabulous. One of the one that resonates with me right now the most is Find Your Superpower. I think I found mine at a very late date, but I guess everybody will be the judge of that. But anyway, we need to take a break, and we will return in just 50 seconds. So don't go away.
Hey, do you want your content to stand out and grab attention? Well, we've got the magic touch. Professional video editing that keeps eyes locked on the screen. Photo editing that turns ordinary shots into scroll-stopping visuals. Crisp, clean audio editing for podcasts, ads, and more. Social media posting and scripting so your content isn't just seen, it's remembered. And guess what? We've got even more amazing services waiting just for you. Whether you're a brand, a business, or a content creator, we help you show up and stand out. Spots are limited. Don't wait. Email us now or book a call today and turn your vision into viral-worthy content. Don't wait. Hit us up now.
Go to kmmedia.pro to find out more about that. I was a little hesitant to play that commercial because, Doctor, how did we do? How was that? How did that look to you?
It was definitely, I love the marketing hook at the end. The spots are limited, and it was very positive. Loved it.
Oh, that makes me feel good.
Makes me feel unique.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, I hired that voice. Who is that voice, do you think?
It's a good one. I mean, it should be singing Let It Be all day long.
I know. It's always in my head, so.
Oh, it's great to have you here, and you're a lot of fun. And I imagine that when you're in your classroom, your kids they're
team. I call them team.
Team. And I imagine they have a great time with you.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of laughing. And I have to say, frequently I ask them, what has been the best part of your day? Of course, I could always say, it's this class, I get it, right? But then they are like, yeah, they're sharing the best part of my day. I got up and my roommate made me a coffee. I got up and I walked to class and it felt like a really great summer day. I got up and this and that. Or yesterday, my parents called me and sent me a coffee gift card. So that's little things. Again, the Petite Practice, weaving that into your thinking, it sometimes gets you out of the funk thinking, oh my gosh, this is like I have exams and blah, 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 blah. It's the positive talk that I immediately started infusing into the classroom. I said, no, close your laptop, put your phone away. I want to hear the best part of your day right now. And they're like sitting there like, oh boy.
Well, I love that you asked them that because it triggers their mind to think. Mm-hmm. And that made me think, have you ever had a student that has multiple superpowers, or their superpower changes or something happens and they kind of don't know how to handle it? How do you help them get through that?
Yeah. So like frequently we have the colliding of the superpowers. Let's call it like that. You're like, well, I'm really good at that, but I'm also over here. And then I said, well, let's make a little Venn diagram of some sort, right? Because it could be that you have these multiple things and you can combine it into one. And I mean, who says we can't change? Change is a great thing. You could embrace change. Maybe there's something you're really passionate about right now. So maybe it has a bigger circle in your little Venn diagram. And there's something else over here. And you kind of like keep that on your back burner for like, I'm going to keep an eye on that. Maybe in a few years, I'm really going to make this a much bigger circle in my life. It's so important. The more you're tuned in with who you are and what you are sharing with the world, the more you're really going to step into that full diagram of superpower, which I teach with my clients in my one-on-one practice, to really figure out how you can thrive in your life and become that more positive individual. You kind of have to think a little bit and like tuning in, what makes me happy? What comes easy to me? What is it that people ask me about? Where do I really feel like I'm in the flow moment, where I don't even realize time is going by? And ideally, that's not playing video games. That's not a flow moment. Not.
So I have to ask you, Doctor, when you ask that question, what's the best thing that you've done today? What's the best answer or the funniest answer you've ever got?
Oh gosh. Yeah, it might have been like the best thing that happened to you today.
Yes.
I've had once a student that their roommate made like breakfast or something like that, and they actually made it from scratch because I think they had broken something the previous day. So there was like a little bit of like a moment of, I'm making you breakfast because I need to tell you something moment. And then I tell them, you know what? It's totally fine, because in that moment, just embrace the fact that they're doing something nice for you because they felt bad about it. So it actually means they care, right? But it's sometimes funny when we really hear the full story behind it. It's like, oh yeah, they felt bad about this, and so they did that. I'm like, well, that's probably what I would have done too. Instead of just coming out and saying, oh, you know what, I broke your favorite mug. Maybe make them coffee in a different mug and say, I'm really sorry, I'm making this because I kind of feel bad about this. And it's all right. At the end of the day, it's just a thing. But I love that you brought up the relationship. That person is way more important than any mug in the world, right? Having that friendship with that person. Who cares about some random momentum mug? It's just a thing. It's just energy, right? So build that relationship with that person, laugh about it, and appreciate that they thought about, your feelings and made you breakfast in that moment. And we really celebrated that. And that's how you need to think about it. It's people at the end of the day, especially when you grow older, it's really the connection you build with others, the community that you form, that way outweighs anything in your life that you could have done, because nobody will ever look back and say, oh, I wish I would have had more mugs or something, right? You would have spent more time with your friends drinking out of the mugs, and who cares how the mug looks like.
Exactly. And I would have thought, since you're dealing with a lot of young people and some of them have I'm surprised that one of them hasn't said, when you said, and what's the question you asked them again?
What has been your favorite part of the day?
I had a really great poop this morning. Have you ever had that answer?
I actually, in one of my classes, which is innovation entrepreneurship, some of the students work with probiotics, or they create like kefir or anything that helps with your digestion. They sometimes talk about this. They're like, oh my gosh, yeah, you know what? Actually, that product really like creates some good bowel movement there. And I'm like, awesome, this is good share. Yeah, keep it up. Yay. High five to you, Yeah.
Well,
I'm excited.
It's like, good. Keep it up.
Yeah.
Well, it's awfully good because, when you get older, I'm told, I don't know because I'm not old yet, but never mind. I'm not going to go there. But Rochelle, any other thoughts? We're going to run out of time, unfortunately, Doctor.
We had so much fun.
No other thoughts. Just want to leave the show making sure everybody has the ways to connect to you, find your website and your books and all those fun things, and then just anything you'd love to share with our audience before we go.
Yeah, I mean, of course, I would love for you to vote for me, the Women's Podcasting
Okay,
Award.
yes, go vote.
Vote, because I am nominated in the education podcast.
How do they find you the place to vote?
Yeah.
Can I share it with you?
Of course.
Yes, of course.
You had to go to the Women's Podcast Award. If you Google that Women's Podcast Award, it will come up. And then go to the education category. That's where I'm nominated for. Because my podcast, it's information, but it's fun. It's relation and information. It's like, whoa, we are like doing it all. And so then you can, you know what? I'm going to post a link on my website and on my social media. So there you got an incentive, right? On my website, I have Dr. Christiane /podcast, and you can go right there and vote for me there. And then, of course, my social media, Dr.Christiane. I also have a YouTube channel. And of course, check out my podcast, Happy Healthy Hustle. That's the one we have been talking about with regard to the nomination. And if you would love to do one of those word searches or the Zentangle puzzles or do a personal little superpower discovery, my books are all on Amazon. 3 of them right now, and I would love for you to check in with those books and discover your own unique self.
Because we are all, as we talk about at the top of the show, that we're all born great. The sad thing is that we spend most of our life having people tell us you ain't so great. Well, those are just stories that you should not listen to because everybody was born great. You agree with that, I know.
Totally do. And I think that, if there was that one teacher that maybe didn't believe in you, that maybe tore up your piece of art, that maybe said you're not a good singer, don't let that stop you. Don't. Just let it be, to say it in the unique words of the Beatles.
Let it be. Well, and something that you taught us, Dr. Christiane, is sometimes when we have guests that say just extraordinary things, we put it onto our merch on positivetalkradio.net. Go to a merch and order yourself something. But you said no stands for next opportunity. That is such a different way to look at that word. It almost makes your brain fumble.
Mm-hmm. I love it. And fail stands for first attempt in learning. First attempt in learning.
Okay.
If you fail, you should celebrate that. When Kevin talked about that phone call and somebody doesn't want your thing, awesome. That first phone call didn't go well.
Thank you.
Moving on.
Well, you still learn something from it, right? I think that's what you teach all of your students, and why I absolutely loved having you on the show is because you're teaching that it's all based off of you, and you get to choose what you're learning from. And now that I'm thinking of you and how you love to learn, I guess that could be one of my things too, because I love to learn. I think that we all kind of do deep down. We just might be afraid of it. So I love that you keep that going. We need that.
Thank you.
And again, Rochelle, her full name and the website again.
Dr. Christiane Schroeter, and go to her website, which is drchristiane.com, and go vote, because we need her to win. Yes, everybody go vote right now. And Doctor, when does this vote end?
Starts today, ends at the end of the month. But you better get that vote in soon, because I know how things go, right? There will be Mother's Day, Memorial Day. Who knows what's coming up in your life? And plus, if you vote today, you can share it with your 3,000 Facebook friends and with your neighbors and with your community and get even more votes from me. You got this.
Yes, go vote.
And thank you for being with us, and thank you for being on the show. We gotta run.
Thank you.
But Rochelle, thank you for a great day. It's been awesome.
Of course.
You are awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Our purpose is to provide everyone with a positive, entertaining, and educational experience. I would love your feedback and comments about the show, including possible topics and great guest suggestions. Please email me at kevin@kmmedia.pro. And remember, Be kind to one another because each other's all we've got. That's Kevin